Help us with this. So many business leaders, business owners are watching us this morning, especially in the tri-state area where the numbers continue to surge. By some estimates, by next week, the positivity rate could cross 20%, possibly 30% by Christmas. Do you believe that businesses should be bringing workers into the office place? And what do you do about environments where people can't wear masks, restaurants and the like?
Well, those are difficult situations. First of all, you're right. We are having a surge, both a Delta surge, the Delta variant, but also we're having a rather substantial increase in percentage of the new Omicron variant, which has the unfortunate capability of spreading very, very efficiently with a doubling time of about 3 days. So the recommendations are what we've always said. I mean, we've got to get the unvaccinated people vaccinated, and boosters really help very, very much in protecting you against infection, but particularly against severe disease that might lead to hospitalization. So the recommendations in general, if you're vaccinated and not yet boosted, go get boosted. And with regard to just how you go about your daily life, you've got to abide by the recommendations of the CDC that when you're in an indoor setting that's a congregate setting where you do not know the status of vaccination of the people around you, to wear a mask in that indoor setting. That's the best we can do. Unfortunately, we have so many people in this country who are either not yet vaccinated at all or who have not gotten boosted, and we've got to get those people vaccinated.
Doctor, but given the breakthrough cases and what we've seen about the lack of efficacy without the booster, at least, do you think the CDC at this point should reclassify the definition of what it means to be fully vaccinated? I ask because, as you know, many restaurants and public spaces in many parts of the country, as long as you're, quote, fully vaccinated, you can be indoors without a mask, and what kind of message that sends and what the health implications of that are.
Well, that's certainly on the table. Right now, it is a bit of semantics in that fully vaccinated for the purpose of the regulations and requirements that people have as to be what are you considered as being fully vaccinated. But there's no doubt that optimum vaccination is with a booster. I mean, there is no doubt about that. Whether or not the CDC is going to change that, it certainly is on the table and open for discussion. I'm not sure exactly when that will happen. But I think people should not lose sight of the message that there's no doubt that if you want to be optimally protected, you should get your booster.
The CDC is now recommending effectively against the J&J vaccine, or at least favoring the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine. Do you think it was a mistake from the beginning to recommend the J&J vaccine, given what was clearly the lack of efficacy relative to the others, and now some of the other troubling aspects that we've learned?
Well, the shift and the change right now that occurred yesterday regarding a recommendation of a preference for the mRNA over J&J really was nailed down by the very recent data that there are more of these adverse events than was originally thought. Still, one can use the J&J, but what the CDC was saying, that when you look at the overall data, particularly taking into account the safety data with regard to adverse event, that if you had the choice, favor the mRNA.
As you know, we are in holiday season and there are holiday parties. You've talked about getting together with your family during the holidays, and you've recommended testing and the like. At what point would you reassess that? And how would you think about holiday parties, even those with tested, in environments and areas? As I said, by next week, if you do the math logarithmically, New York could be in a place where the positivity rate could cross 25, 30%.
Well, you've got to just take things one step at a time and take a look at how things evolve. I mean, obviously, if you are vaccinated, your family's vaccinated, you have friends who are vaccinated and hopefully also boosted, you could still enjoy a social gathering, generally in a home. You've got to be careful when you go into large public indoor spaces where there are a lot of people there, and that's the reason why you should be wearing a mask under those circumstances. But you've got to follow what's going on. If the counts keep going up and the test positivity keeps going up, we may need to be more restrictive. But for right now, people who are vaccinated and boosted should feel reasonably comfortable. The risk is never zero. That's for sure.
But
under any
what's the number?
circumstances.
What's the number you reassess at? You just suggested, I think, perhaps for the first time, that you would be forced to reassess if the numbers go up. At what level? Meaning, if you hear that the positivity rate is 25% in a particular or 30%, does that change?
I'm not going to give you a number. I think you just have to look at all the different factors. You've got to look at people who are getting infected. You've got to look at the seriousness of the infection, the rate of hospitalizations. All of those things you look at when you make a determination about how restrictive you are going to be. And those things just roll out in real time, and you take it step by step. I can't give you a number now. Then all of a sudden, that becomes the set number. And I don't have any real scientific data to feel very comfortable about a set number, and that's the reason why I don't want to give it to you.